Good morning, good morning, good morning, beautiful people. I'm going to get the day right today. Yesterday I said it was a beautiful Sunday morning, but it was Monday morning. So that means today is Tuesday, right, B? You with us, B?
As it is. Good morning, Mama. How you doing?
Good morning, good morning.
Yep. Can you hear me?
I can.
Good
Sorry,
morning. Can you hear me?
yes, we can hear you
Okay. Good.
fine.
Good.
Can you? Good. Yeah. So we're going to B. Our B is not feeling A today. B's not feeling
Ah,
well, y'all. So we gotta send him some love over there. Love. So we're gonna do our thing today. I'm gonna stand in or sit in for him today, do what he usually does, and then we're gonna make it happen and get off of here so that he can get some rest. Which is probably what's going on with him. He probably just needs to sit down somewhere. So we're going to get it rocking. Let's see who's in with us, and let me also get us up on StreamYard. I'm sorry about that. And so I see Miss Brenda is in with us already. Thank you for rocking with us and being on time to the barbecue. Thank you for the kind words yesterday after the show. I appreciate that as well. So, Brandon, we should be ready to rock and roll over there in just a second because I know it's a little delayed on your end with Instagram, right?
yeah. Just a little
You
bit,
good?
but thank you so much.
Okay. All right.
And
So,
hey,
what
Miss
we're going
Brenda,
to do.
we're gonna chat soon too. I need to. Me and Miss Brenda are gonna have a health conversation, and food and stuff like that. So me and Brenda gonna link up a little bit, uh, sometime soon.
Did I send Miss
Yep.
Brenda? Did
Yep.
I?
Yep.
I did. Okay. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I knew I was supposed to, but I could. I was like, oh Lord, did I forget? Okay. So cool. Cool. So let's rock right into it. Looks like our Instagram is up and ready.
Okay. Yep. We're live.
Okay, you guys. So we're here for daily motivations. If you're just coming in with us, I'm gonna rock today because B is not feeling well. So we're gonna rock steady and fast and get on out of here so he can get himself uh, healed well, right? So we're here, daily motivations for African American success. We're reading through Dennis Kimbro's book, who is also the author of Think and Grow Rich. And let's tell you what that means. Daily motivations for African American success will help you focus on the thoughts, attitudes, and deeds that will lead you to the achievement of your true goals. Y'all know I love it. Your true goals. In 365 short but powerful motivations, one for each day of the year, Dennis Kimbro, author of the popular Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice, leads us to discover how to use the present moment and our own gifts to transcend labels, cultivate a positive attitude, become wise enough to know when to say yes, but also when to say no, and when to look inward for answers to life's challenges. Each motivation begins with words of wisdom from such distinguished and celebrated African Americans, such as, but certainly not limited to, Malcolm X, Marion Wright Edelman, Whoopi Goldberg, Charlene Hunter Galt, Bill Cosby, Carl Rowan, and hundreds of others. This treasure trove of practical inspiration will give you fresh encouragement every day of the year. But what it teaches you will last a lifetime. Black Enterprise says that each affirmation in this valuable and thought provoking book takes only a few minutes to read, but it is worthy of more time for contemplation. So, my question before we even jump into it, are you contemplating what you're learning? Are you applying what you are learning? So, be anything to share with us before we jump right into it?
No, I think I'm good. We have a couple people coming in on Instagram. King Nub MMA, and Yaskara, my aunt-in-law. King Yaskara is my aunt-in-law, and then King Nub MMA. If you guys look him up, he's an incredible fighter. He is he has his arm, it goes down to his elbow and then stops right there,
Mhm.
and he fights MMA. So his
Wow.
arm stops at his elbow, so he calls himself King Nub MMA. So what a way to turn something into a blessing and turn something into kind of a a marker for who he is. You know what I mean? And to make it kind of marketable, basically for him. So I think that's awesome. He's actually probably one of my favorite personalities in fighting. You know, for that reason. So shout out to King Nub.
King Nub, shout out to you and y'all. That's what I mean. You tell me your story and I'll show you someone else with a story. But it became their glory. They didn't let it stop them. They realized that they had everything that they need to do what they needed to do. So what you ought to do, you should do. What you should do, you ought to do with what you have to do it with. Period. So and check this out. The last shall be first.
Mm,
Right? The
mm,
last. Sometimes y'all see people with as Trent says, a different ability. And y'all put them at the end of the line, right? The last. So sometimes the people you're looking at as last, or hey, they can't do this because of this or that, they haven't bought that story. They don't buy it. So our topic, the last shall be first, and our quote, let me get it out here. This comes from Jesse Hill, CEO of Atlanta Life Insurance. All right, Atlanta people, check that company out, Atlanta Life Insurance. I'm not a self made man. I cannot forget those who have sacrificed for me to get where I am today. I'm not a self made man. I cannot forget those who have sacrificed for me to get where I am today. Jesse Hill, Atlanta, CEO of Atlanta Life Insurance. And so our passage goes, often we see plagues on the walls in people's homes that read, God first, family second, work third. That's wrong. It's wrong as a credo because they are all first. We are spiritual beings living in a spiritual universe. That spirituality premates our family, our work, and our entire life. Our choice is to recognize it and work with it, or deny it and have it work against us. Got to read that one again. Our choice is to recognize it and work with it, or deny it and have it work against us. In work, in finance, in health, in many areas of our lives, we use terms that we all immediately recognize. But when we get to spirituality, we frequently disagree over terminology. Mm, 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 mm. Whew. The following story will help define the term spirituality. Several years ago, there was an extremely wealthy old woman living in one of the most expensive suites of a four-star New York hotel. The cost was anything but modest, and she began to feel guilty about spending all that money on herself. One day, as the excited as she exited the hotel, she saw a let's see, I told y'all my book, disheveled beggar stumbling down the street. Feeling somewhat remorseful, she walked up to him and placed $100 bill in his hand. As she walked away, she said, Godspeed. As she walked away, she said, Godspeed. The next day, as she was coming out of the hotel, a neatly dressed, cleanly shaven man walked up to her, placed $100 bills in her hand, and said, Godspeed paid 10 to 1. This only goes to show that one person's spirituality is another's race horse. Spiritually involved. Y'all, that's so funny to me. I'm sorry. Spiritually involves more than the mind or intellect, it involves the soul. When we do something spiritual, we do it from the soul. We do it for ourselves. We do it from the soul and we do it for ourselves, you guys. And our affirmation for today, and let me get this out here. How you doing over there, B? B, you doing
Doing good. Just
okay?
reading along.
Okay. All right. So our affirmation for the
Yeah, can
day,
you hear
you
me?
have a yes.
Hear me?
Uh-huh. It's a little delayed, but it's
Okay.
okay. Our affirmation for the day, you have a spiritual side.
Okay.
Find it and pour your soul into it. One more time. You have a spiritual side. Find it and pour your soul into it. And one more time for the people in the back, for the people on the way, for the people that are here but not hearing me. You have a spiritual soul, a spiritual side. Find it and pour your soul into it. All right, B, you want to give me something on it or you want me to just go ahead and keep it going?
You go ahead if you don't mind. I'll tag
Okay.
in here in just a little bit. You're doing such a great
Okay.
job. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I just know you're not feeling well. So, I already spoke a little bit out about the last shall be first, y'all. I spoke about people that you see for whatever reason that you may see them as last. Maybe they don't have the type of job you have, the title you have, the kind of car you have, the six figure you have, or maybe that you just make a bit more than and more than they do, or have a bit more than they do, right? So you see them as last. But you know what is what's the core here is, do you see yourself as last?
Mm, mm,
Do you subconsciously see yourself as last? Right? In this instinct, I really believe that it's talking about how God sees the people that we may see as last. The last shall be first. And oftentimes you'll see people who people who seek and serve God. You know, we'll talk about God, we'll talk about Jesus, but do I see Jesus when I see you? Do you see Jesus when you see me? If that's who you call on, right? Do you see me as equal to you, first or last? Do you know that God loves me just as he loves you, whether you see me first, second, third, fourth? Or do you see me as your sister, right? Do you see what's I believe it was Little Will that said, you are my other me, or maybe it was you, Brandon. I know it wasn't me. You are me, basically.
it was me
It was a word.
from the I think it was the Mayan culture of the that's in La Ketch.
In La Ketch. Okay, so it was in La Ketch. I remember that. Like, I
And
see
Will's
you.
birthday was yesterday.
I know, y'all. I was going to say we need to give Will a shout out from in this season podcast. I did say happy birthday to him last night, yesterday, but y'all, little Will sits in for us, so y'all show him the love. Go over on his page and say, hey, from in this season podcast, happy birthday, bro, and tell him y'all looking for him to come back. And then I'm not a self-made man. I cannot forget those who have sacrificed for me to get where I am. Y'all, how often do we forget the people who held us up when we felt down?
Mm,
How often do you get to that place, right? And you find new people to stroke your ego because they only know you in this season. They only know you in your winning season, right? How often do we forget and make the people last that were there for you when you were trying to get up? How often has it had to be a person who you made last have to pick you up, help hold you up, right? So this is about many, many things. I'm also intrigued by the woman's um, conscious, I guess. Like, I'm paying all of this money to stay here.
mm-hmm.
For what? And to go outside and bless somebody. Y'all, it's easy. I mean, I see this. It's easy to give somebody when you have plenty. But still, I believe she gave from the heart because before she gave, she felt. She felt her conviction. So she wasn't giving out of, oh, I'm a little better than you. I got it to give. Because sometimes, a lot of times, you give for your own selfish reasons, not from your heart. not from that spirit, right? But this lady had a conviction before leaving, which led her to bless somebody who went out. Because a lot of y'all will hear this story and be like, oh, he spent it on the horses. That ain't your business. That's not even the lady's business. If he would have lost it all, her job was to bless him and make him feel first. And that feeling, who knows, he could have tried to bet before this, but that feeling of somebody cares, I'm first in somebody, they didn't just walk past me today. This lady blessed me today, may have allowed him to go in. And what did he say about the race? It paid 10-1. Maybe it was his spirit and his soul meeting that day. Maybe it was somebody that poured into his soul or into his spirit that made him go in and feel first. So, as we mentioned, we're going to be quick today. Brandon, I'll turn it back over to you to see what you have, if you feel like it. If not,
Yeah,
I
I
can
do.
carry on.
No, it's cool. It's just it's like
Okay.
a like throat more
Okay.
than anything. Um, I when you first said it, and I think it's just because I'm a little under the weather. You said another man's, one man's, what was it? One man's charity is another man's racehorse, or Godspeed is another man's racehorse.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm not mistaken, isn't there a famous horse called Godspeed or something like that?
I don't know. Let's
Let me.
see.
I'm gonna look it up. I feel like
You go
somewhere in
ahead.
my head.
I will look it up. You go ahead.
Okay, but I just found that was interesting. Um, Sometimes we give, like you said, Mom, we give charity from a place of pity, right? But I think the charity that we give looks in this life as if it helps them, the person we're giving it to, but in the next life or in the hereafter, I mean, um, the next spiritual experience of life, it helps us there. So like, there's always I always say this, that there's a internal or a spiritual reflection or reverberation or polar opposite and duality in a sense to everything that happens here. So you give charity to a poor man here, but the compensation for that is for your own soul in the hereafter. And I think once we start to change it and look at it that way, there we unlock more spiritual capabilities for ourselves, and there's more blessings in the works that we do because our intention is a little different because we're doing it for a higher purpose, right? A higher purpose, a higher reason. Um, I think for like you said, the fact that she had an understanding of spirituality. So spirituality follows us everywhere. It's not just in the place of the church or the place of the mosque or when you pray. Spirituality is everything you do every single day, right? Spirituality is what you eat. Spirituality is is what businesses you actually spend your money at and your patron to. Spirituality is what you say. Spirituality is your intention when you wake up in the morning. Spirituality is what you do for work. Is the money that you make, is it good money spiritually, right? And so the clothes you wear is spirituality. What you do with your hair is spirituality. How often you bathe is spirituality, right? Cleanliness next to godliness. You notice Jesus in the Bible. I use this reference just because I know most people here um, um, are Christian or have some reference to the Bible. But Jesus washed himself before he prayed, before he worshiped. So everything, and there's a reason for that. There's a spiritual reality um, that that is impacted by a physical thing. So the giving of charity, that's the sacrifice that you would hear sometimes about In the old Jewish times of sacrificing a lamb for sins and things like that. There's a sacrifice that comes with you giving up something that you love, something that, has been made provision for you for someone else, and their spiritual implications. So while he might have gained, the $10,000, if I'm not mistaken, didn't it come back to her? He gave it to her.
He gave her 10, let's see, no, he gave
hundred
her
dollar
how many?
bills.
$100 bills. Let's see, what was it? But yeah, he ended up giving it. I like that fact too, Brandon. I'm glad you brought that up. He ended up giving her some of the winnings.
Right, and we don't know what she did with it. If she gave it back, it kind of ends in the moment of her getting that money back, and him saying Godspeed paid 10-1. So, you know, to me, that shows, those little situations like that show that God's always there, that God's always watching, right? And so for her to, and I was speaking to my wife about this last night, to hate something in your heart, or to realize and to change course wherever you are, to realize that you're doing something that doesn't set right with you spiritually, spending all of this money on red bottom shoes, eating out every night instead of cooking, wasteful things, right? And then you change your ways for the reason of being more modest, or being more frugal, or using your money and time for something more efficiently, right? Or with a more spiritual purpose. I think you're rewarded for that. And I think sometimes God just says, like, hey, I see you. Right. And what irony is it for her to say Godspeed, and then he come back and say Godspeed paid 10-1. Right. And so I think there's something. Did you find anything about the Godspeed
I,
race war?
I did actually. It does have something to do with a race and things like that. But more interesting to me, it is noted that it's in the King James version of the Bible, and I have it on the screen there. It says, "May God cause you to succeed." It's only mentioned one time in the Bible, and that's in the King James version of the Bible. So I thought that was, and it's in Elijah in First Kings. I'm sorry, First Kings 18 verse 46. It mentions that may God cause you to succeed. So the lady, that's interesting too. Were their interpretations of Godspeed different or the same? Because he
Right.
comes back and so it's interesting. But to her, I believe it says, may I believe she's saying, may God cause you to succeed. And so, mind you guys, this is a lady who appears to be financially wealthy, right? Well off as far as money, as it relates to money. And think about our perception of people who are rich, right? So the people who are rich in spirit, right? Who's identified that they have a spiritual side and that they've poured their soul into it. To me, that's the becoming of one with yourself. Because and y'all, this is something I thought about yesterday, particularly after the show. Um, Once you stop fighting yourself, you don't fight people. What do I look like trying to fight you two with your demons or your angels? We blend. We come to an understanding, and we both do what we do, right? So I walked around yesterday and said, I'm a lover. I'm sorry, I'm not a fighter. I'm not gonna fight you
Right.
because I had to overcome fighting myself. So I'd be damned if I fight you. If I'm now, I will fight with you. We can fight together as we go this Godspeed. But as it says here in the book, um, when we do something spiritual, we do it from the soul. We do it for ourselves. It was a part I'm thinking about where you either learn to go with it, to let it go with you, right? Or it
Mm-hmm.
goes against you. It says the spiritually, let's see, where is it here? Our choice is to recognize it, recognize it, and work with it, or deny it and have it work against us. That to me says Combine. Stop allowing your spirit to fight your soul. Because the greatest fight is the ones with ourselves, the one with ourselves, right? The greatest lies are the ones that you tell yourself. Because if you lie to you, you lying to me. If you lie to somebody, you're going to lie to me at some point. So when you become one with yourself, you stop fighting. Just be who you are, Godspeed, right? Just be who you are, Godspeed. And that trust that God's speed will get you where he is taking you to. Do you get to choose how he takes you there? Absolutely not. Can you decide to say, while I don't understand God, I trust you? In this speed, whether we going turtle speed or I don't know, what's the fastest animal?
A cheetah,
Turtles,
land,
cheetahs, cheetah speed.
yeah, land
Right.
animal. Mhm.
Right. So what does God's speed look like to us? Because this same scenario could have been different. He could have taken the money and went and lost. Then how would we have interpreted the story?
Right. It's like when we can see God in it ourselves, we're like, oh yeah, this is a good thing. But who's to say that we are the ones that can see God in things? Because God could be there, and He is,
He is. Right.
in everything, and we just interpret it as we want to, right? So, for example, who knows? That man could have, prayed or sought some type of guidance and been like, I wish I could just. I'm really good at picking these horses. If I just had $10, I could do this, right? And I'm not promoting anyone to go gamble. I'm just speaking from this story. That could have been a guidance for him. He could have had some inkling and been thinking about it, and it been confirmation for him, for this woman to come up to him and give him that $10. You know what I mean? And then
Hmm.
she says the words Godspeed. Have you ever had situations where you had just read something, maybe this book, maybe a spiritual book, and it said something, and then you saw someone else that gave you confirmation,
Mm.
and you're like, oh yeah, yeah, you know what? Like, I remember my grandma in Florida, Grandma Irene would be like, "Ooh, baby, play those numbers." you know, you remember that? Like, so, or something
Yeah.
would happen, or
Yeah.
Granddaddy Gator, my grandfather would be like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna play this number because it's your birthday and because of this and because of that," and you
Well,
said
because they
something.
had a dream.
They had a dream, right?
Yeah. And
And
sometimes
so,
the numbers came through. Sometimes they
right,
didn't.
and here's the thing: we know that God allowed these things to happen, but we don't always know if that's what God, quote unquote, wanted, or that was best. Because I think sometimes God allows us to do things, and He can bless us for our benefit, or bless us to test us. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So, like I said before, with some people are blessed with wealth, right? But they're also tested with that wealth. That's their test. And some people are tested with poverty, but that's really their wealth, right? The last will be first. Imagine the meek shall inherit the earth. Imagine being among the meek prior to the inheritance of the earth, right? You could look at it and say, I'm actually the last. You can experience, imagine African Americans, for example, right? In America, or the slavery, anywhere you go as an African American around the world, due to colonialism, imperialism, and white supremacy, you're looked at somewhat uh, derogatorily by the power structures, right? You go to China, people are like, oh man, it's a black man. You go to different places. There's this air in the places that have been impacted by colonialism, where colorism is there. Now imagine if on Judgment Day there's extra mercies for the people that have oppressed histories, or the people that have gone through things that were unfair, that were unjust. God has His day with them, and they have their day with their Lord. So imagine the meek being first, and us going through this entire experience and having faith. That in the end, the last shall be first. So all those people that are walking around that you might be looking down on because they're poor, that you might
Mm,
say they don't have this or they don't have that, or yeah, you just might look down upon on Judgment Day. Those people might be before you. Those people might have mountains of good deeds, and here you are thinking that they were poor. So I think some people are tested with success, and some people are tested with poverty. Some people are blessed with success, and some people are blessed with poverty, because this isn't the only life. This is our passerby life. We are going to our forever home, right? From a spiritual perspective. And so, is it better to now go through a little bit of harder tests for better outcomes and recompense later on, right? So I remember the people, and I've said this before, the people of I heard that mother um, and a child and different people in Palestine and Gaza who said, "Don't pray for us, pray for yourselves." Pray for yourselves. Can you imagine that? To be getting bombed around you, your children, your aunties, your uncles, your family being displaced and being killed and moved away, and told to go to this place, Khan Yunis. Then Khan Yunis is bombed. Then the people bomb you, say, "Well, go to Rafah," and then Rafah is bombed, and you say, "Don't pray for us. Everyone, the world has left us. Pray for yourselves. God has made us." Has made us people that are killed innocently, has made martyrs of us. So don't pray for us. Pray for yourselves, for your complicity. So who knows which side of the coin we're on? Me and my wife were talking about that last night, that maybe we are the ones who need the prayers in our lapse of luxury. Maybe we
mm.
are the ones that should have more of the anxiety of when we meet our Lord and we sat silent and did nothing, right? While we sit with all of this comfort. Will we be, are we the last or are we the first? Do we think the last among us or the first among us are the best of us? Right? And how do we
And
measure?
why? And why, Brandon?
Right.
And why? Why do we perceive the first? Because it's a question that you can ponder for yourself. Because we'll look at people and sorry, Brandon, I mean to cut you off, but we'll look at people and we form an opinion of them based on what we see, what we can see with the eye. But when you get to the point where it says here in our affirmation, you have a spiritual side, find it and pour your soul into it. It says pour your soul into your spiritual side, not the opposite.
Yeah.
And so when you do that, you're not moved by. I mentioned one day that I remember an acquaintance driving up to a seminar, and she had bought this little pretty convertible car, and people flocked to her based on what she came in on, her horse that she rode in on, right?
Right. Right.
Without knowing anything about her. You see, so we have to be careful. And I'm going to say this, Brandon, and let's bring it to a close. I have to end with this. Make sure that you're not one of these people. It says often we see plaques on the walls in people's homes that read God first, family second, work third. Sometimes those are just pretty words. I'm sorry, and I'm not sorry. It's easy to go, oh, be so excited to go buy something that points out your spirituality. But let me tell you something that will not, you won't need a sign if you are the sign. You might go get it. It looks good hanging on the wall. To me, it's just an extra expense. We have too much wall to fill. It's a wall, right? And I used to be one of those ones want to fill every spot on the wall, right? But you get caught up more in the fact that you've poured your soul into your spirit and you are now one. And doesn't mean you're a perfect one, but when you become one with yourself, it's like I said, got time to fight you, bro. Can't fight you.
Right.
I can try to understand you or my sister, but we ain't gonna fight because guess whose energy? Guess where that energy is going into me, making sure that I'm not fighting myself.
Right.
Because if I stop fighting me, I won't have the need to fight you. Do you, bro? You need me? I'm here, but I'm not gonna fight you. Because like they say, I'm a lover, not a fighter, right, Brandon?
Hmm.
He
And I
wants you to
love,
be loved. You
and,
don't fight.
yeah,
You don't
and I
fight.
love to fight. You know,
You know, so that's my take on it. It's more for you to contemplate on, you guys. We're going to get out of here 7:35. Brandon, I will briefly just check our comments here, just so we don't, forget to do that. Big Mike's in the house. Brenda again.
nice.
Oh, Angela Campbell, good morning, my beautiful loving family. You know who that is, Brandon? Do
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know
yeah,
about her real name? Y'all know
yeah,
we got our cookout names.
yeah,
Thank
yeah, yeah.
you. Oh my gosh, it's been a long time, long time, long time. We got to catch up, man. Oh my
What up,
gosh, y'all,
cuz?
that just warms my heart to know my cousins out there.
What up,
We go way
cuz?
back. We didn't have some good times. Mike says drink some green tea with lemon and eat something with vitamin C will help boost your immune system. Brandon. He's
Thank
telling
you,
you.
Unc.
Okay. Did you hear that? You
I
got it?
did, I did. Thank you,
Okay.
Unc. I love you, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah. And he says, be who you are. Oh, I don't know what's going on there. Oh, yes, I do, you guys. I said I wouldn't do this again. I thought it was plugged up. Um, I lost Brandon. So let me get some more of these comments off or out here. Uh, let's see. Many don't understand how important that is to your life. We can only bring Brandon back in. We can only be who we are. Trying to pretend or trying to be what someone else wants you to be will lead you into troubled waters. Strive with God. Strive with what? Strive with who God made you to be. That's from Mike. KL says, good morning. Let's see. Oh, we have a lot of comments, you guys. Israel is surrounded by Arab nations. So y'all check out the comments. There's a lot there. Thank you guys. We're gonna just try to get off of here today, and that's something Brandon and I are gonna work on. Is really being mindful about the time that we stay on because we both have to leave and go do work and all of those things, and we want to leave you with something to go search for and contemplate on yourself.
Right,
So a lot of it is just becomes talk, but you take the time to contemplate the question: how do you visualize first versus last,
right,
right? How do
right,
you see people? Is it based on what they have on, rather
right,
than who they are, how they treat you, their spirit and soul becoming one? Because
right,
truth
right.
be told, Brandon, let's close with this. Truth be told, it's who?
It's
It's
about
you.
you. It's
It's
about you.
about you and it's you,
And
right?
it is. It is. And thank y'all so much for watching. And Unc, they have responded in some way, but there's a lot more to it. So we should all make sure that we educate ourselves on the different calamities that are going on around the world. Because as spiritual people who claim to be believers, we have a responsibility to at least pray for those people. And if you haven't, it says more about you than it says about them. So I think we are the ones that need the prayers, right? But
Brandon, can
mhm.
I add just something to that?
Sure, sure, sure.
It's difficult, as I mentioned, you guys, and this is no, my heart breaks when I pass someone who I feel is homeless, or even the young man that I had to call the police on.
Mm,
I prayed for him last night because y'all, he's in a whole situation
yeah, yeah.
that I couldn't imagine my son being in, and me as a mother feeling like I could have been the reason that he's there. I could play a part in that, right? And truth
Hmm.
be told, I think there's no situation your child gets into that a little bit of you, whether you know it or not, plays a part in, right? But I went to the store yesterday, you know, and I was talking to my brother, and I pulled up so I didn't get right out. And I'm talking to my brother, and I see the guy walk from behind the store right past the car with the same black jacket coat on. You guys, it's hot as hell out there yesterday. And I said to my brother, I said, the guy just passed the guy's at the store, he's here, right? And so my brother was, like, don't go in the store, just and I didn't. I backed out and went to another store. But think about that, y'all. But what it led to, now, nothing changes about if it has to be me or him, it's going to be him, right? Nothing changed about that. But I still felt this young man. I felt his pain enough to pray for him last night. Because I know one thing, God can speed it up for him. Godspeed applies to him too, not just me, not
I have a,
just my son.
I have a question.
So I was gonna say this. You're talking about people praying for people in another country. People will won't pray for the people in their own life,
Right, right. And
So
and
it's
and
like you lie to you, you lying to me. So that's what I meant. Same thing.
yeah, and exactly. I think, and then like to the question, like, because people will ask, you know, let's say about Congo, right? So what's happening in Congo, where over 8 million people have been killed in the last couple of years, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and I did my ancestry DNA, and lo and behold, the majority of my blood comes from Congo, right? Now, does that make me now more more thoughtful about that situation, feel more bad, or be more of an advocate for their plight because, oh, now I'm part Congolese, right? This is a disease of the heart that we've accepted in a paradigm that we've accepted based on white supremacy, based on colorism, based on racial totem poles. So, like, when people say, well, why haven't the African countries done anything about the what's going on in Congo? Why haven't the Arab countries done anything in response to the occupation of Palestine and Israel? Why haven't we done something when we are the ones funding it with our tax dollars, right? That's the part that makes us complicit in the situation, for example, with the poor man or the person who's crazy in the back of the or taking drugs. There's
All right. I don't know. I think we just got Brandon frozen here. You guys don't know what's going on with all of this, but hopefully you can hear me. And what I will do is just go ahead and bring us to a close um, by reading the affirmation 3 times. You know how we do it and why we do it. So, our affirmation, and let's go back through it all. Our quote today, let me get that back up. The title for sure, The Last Shall Be First. And our quote for today, I am not a self made man. I cannot forget those who have sacrificed to get where I am today. Nothing is free. If you got it free, somebody paid for it. Where you are today, somebody helped you get there, regardless of where you are. If you feel you're on the top, in the middle, on the bottom, or somewhere in between, you did not get there by yourself. You are not a self-made man. Hear that, get that. Hear it, get it, feel it, receive it, right? Don't let what you see um be the condition in which you determine or decide who a person is, how a person is, not even yourself. Not even yourself. And the affirmation, which is scrolling across the bottom there, you, you have a spiritual side. Can you at least agree to that first? You have a spiritual side. Find it and pour your soul into it. Pour your soul into it. Find it if it's lost. How do you do that? I don't have the answer for you. You have to search your soul, search yourself. I don't have the answer for you. What is, in your opinion, what is the soul versus the spirit? What is your soul? How does it show up in your life? What is your spiritual side? Which do you give more attention to? That spiritual side or that soul side? Which do you? All right. My opinion, Our soul is from that place of our feelings, our emotions, right? It's what we feel with. And don't you know, if one thing you ought to know after hearing this show and Butterfly Revolution is that we say we are not what we feel. We are not who we feel. Should we have spiritual surgery on those feelings? Absolutely. Absolutely, you should. But your spirit is a whole nother realm. And I also liked here, I'm going to get out of here, that we are spiritual beings living in a spiritual universe. That's the first time I heard that. I've always heard we are spiritual beings. We're spiritual beings living in the world, right? We're not of this world. We're spiritual. But to say that, no, if I'm spiritual, my universe, my universe is spiritual. I'm living in a spiritual universe. I love that. I love that. Because you know what that tells me? I'm Godspeed, baby. And I will speed by you so fast, you won't see or know that I've gone by you. And I can go by you so slow that you still won't see me. Because I'm on my spiritual side. I'm down with my spiritual side, and I'm in my spiritual universe. And ain't nothing the world can do with that. And I said ain't nothing the world can do with that. So you have a spiritual side, find it and pour your soul into it. Brandon, you read it one more time for the people in the back.
Hey, for the people in the back, you have a spiritual side. Find it and pour your soul into it. I was able to continue to listen because I still had the Instagram live up as the phone was kind of
Mm-hmm.
tripping. So I was able to hear you, Mom, and appreciate you. And sorry for the technical difficulties.
It's
But
all
yes,
right. It's all right.
the and I wonder, guys, to look into today, the difference between your spirit and your soul. What is the difference between your and your soul? I have my own definitions, but ponder that today, uh, internally, or maybe even with your family and your other people around you. What is the difference between your spirit and your soul? And can you pour your soul into your spiritual side? What does that look like? What does that look like? Right? And I'll end with this. There is no race associated with your spirit. There is no ethnicity associated with your soul. Right? So let's not divide ourselves on the totem poles of last and first, right? Because truly only God knows who is the best among us, who's the first among us. A lot of people, elevate Jesus. He wasn't black, he wasn't white, or anything like that, but a spiritual being, right? That we all can say, what an amazing creation, what an amazing person, what an amazing story, right? What an impactful story that has impacted the entire world, right? And he wasn't from our ethnic tribe. He wasn't. It didn't. When imagine being imagine being there and they're trying to put this man on a cross, and you say, "Well, I ain't Jewish." What are the you see what I'm saying? So I
Yeah.
think we're using paradigms of oppression to eat for our own liberation and for the
For
liberation
our
of
own ego, Brandon. And I don't mean that you're gonna have
for
to
our own
stop
ego.
because you're gonna make us be on here longer. But
I know. I'm sorry.
people will want to fight with you over what color Jesus is. Like, are you serious? You think I'm
Yeah,
gonna sit here and
yeah.
fight with you about what color Jesus is rather than who he is? Are you
That's
serious?
mental slavery.
That's that's
It's mental
crazy.
slavery.
That's crazy. That's crazy. You're missing it. And that's why
Yeah.
you get excited by hanging the name on the wall and don't even
Mm.
have a relationship with him, right? You get excited. I ain't gonna fight with you about what color Jesus is. I'm not gonna
It's
fight with you
immaterial.
about what you call Jesus. I've had people get mad because people call Jesus a different name that's in your Bible. Foolishness. Foolishness. And that comes from the division. in yourself, the division of your spirit and your soul. Brandon, I got to get off of here.
All right, me too, Mama. I need to.
You go get well, son. Let me
I
know if
got
you
to check
need
on my chicken.
anything. Yeah, let me know if you
It's
need
okay. I still
anything.
got a million things to do today, and you know,
Okay.
I'm a man. I'm gonna
Okay.
rest. I'm gonna get sleep, but I'm still gonna do what I got to do. So
There
just
you go.
keep me in your prayers and your thoughts and prayers. Just that it doesn't complicate and it just stays ahead, little head cold. But thank y'all so much. I really appreciate y'all, and we'll be here. And God willing, I'll be here on the
And I want to tell cousin
119th day.
Angela that I feel a little bit more
Yeah, yeah.
loved today. I
Hey,
do.
Miss
I
Kim.
just yeah, man, we got to catch up. Got to catch up. Got to catch up.
No,
So, bless you.
I
Bless
love
you.
that. I love the light on your face, Mama. When you see your family are
I
connected
do,
to family
cause
when they
y'all, that's
yeah,
that
yeah,
we
you
didn't
light up.
choose. You didn't choose it. So God gave us our family for a reason. Yeah, and the more I
Mm-hmm.
grow, the more I realize that I love and I need, like, having y'all over here. Everybody just, even Mima, my elderly neighbor. Um, she's it just I just felt so much better last night going to sleep and waking up. And we need that. We need family. God gave us family for a reason. All right. So
Yeah.
let's get out of here. We've
All
already
right.
did the
All right.
affirmation. We've coached you out. So you have a spiritual side, find it and pour your soul into it. On that note, we love y'all. Ain't nothing you can do about it. Happy Tuesday. Go do what it do, but don't let it do you. Peace.
All right, y'all. Take care.